Welcome you to the September luncheon for the Ridgecrest Chamber of Commerce. Want to let you know that we are going to record this and make this available on our YouTube page later following our luncheon, just for those who were unable to join us online today. So it'll be available later. But today we have a special presentation by our city. And welcome our city manager, Ron Strand, and Travis Reed. Travis, I don't fully know your title, planner, or you'll tell us.
I'm just a dude they brought in. No, I'm the public works director.
Public works director. There we go. Sorry about that. But as we get going, I also want to welcome our mayor, Eric Bruin, our city council member, Solomon Rajaratnam. I see Jake Lopez from Congressman McCarthy's office on our call today. I want to welcome you all. Just grateful to have you with us. So I don't have a lot of announcements before we get going today. I want to highlight just two things. We are establishing the committee for Leadership Ridgecrest right now. So if you are interested in participating in that, I invite you to reach out to me. We're going to have another meeting later this month as well. We're also going to have a meeting as we begin to look forward to our 2022 Economic Outlook Conference. So we're starting our committee for that later this month as well. So I'll be sending emails out. If you are interested in joining us and in the planning for either of those, please reach out to me at tim@ridgecrestchamber.com. But right now, I just want to hand it over to give us the maximum time to hear from our speakers today. So I'll hand it over to you, Ron and Travis.
Great. Thank you, Tim. We do have a PowerPoint presentation we're going to kind of lead the conversation with. We do appreciate the invite from the chamber to allow us to come and speak today. As you know, it's always important that we come and periodically update the community on what's going on with the city. So give us a second here I'm impressed. Good job.
Can you guys see our screen?
Not yet.
No.
Hit slideshow.
Hang on. Oh, go back. How do you go back? You got to do it. You got to go back. Hang on just a second. I got to get back. I got to see the... Let me go back to this. That's not it. Let's go back to this.
On the Google Meet at the bottom, there's a couple tabs, little microphone, a camera, and a hand raise.
I didn't hit I couldn't figure out why it wasn't letting me share it, but I think you should be good now.
There we are. We're getting it.
Now
Okay.
we see it.
We
Great.
see your whole page.
Good. Let's go.
There you go. Yeah, start slideshow.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, this was the first for Travis and I sharing a PowerPoint. We had some technical assistance from Megan. We should probably kept her in the room until we got started, but you know how those things go. So what we'd like to talk to you about today is a survey that the city did in the community last April, as well as the follow-up we did in this last summer. We titled it the Community Conversation. It started off as a full survey of the city. It came down to some key points that the citizens were concerned about. The last few months, we have been receiving or had the ability for the community to take an additional survey. We've had a few hundred people that have taken that. We do appreciate that input. That was more kind of boiling down what the results of the previous survey were down to what, a little bit further what people want. Next slide. So what we found from the survey is that really the top priorities of the city have kind of remained the same for the last several years. The community is still concerned about maintaining our 911 emergency response times. They're still concerned about maintaining our emergency medical response. They're still concerned about streets and potholes, as well as maintaining programs to improve our local economy and jobs. And one of the other items that we brought up that was similar to the past was was maintaining our Ridgecrest Fire Service and keeping both fire stations open. In that survey, we also were able to extrapolate that about 62% of the citizens were satisfied with the city's COVID response at the time, and about 27% were dissatisfied. On the other end, we had about 42% of the citizens believe that the city needs extra funding, and this was without any sort of prompting. 23% had mixed opinions, and then 27% felt that the city didn't need any more funding. Next slide. So in regards to the fire services, one of the things that's coming up in the near future is that the city's current contract with Kern County to provide fire services is expiring next July. So we've been working with the county as well as all the other contract cities to work on a new contract agreement with them. Well, the county's taken a different position on how that contract is to be funded, and they've changed how they are calculating what the cities owe, and they're basing that on the number of responses that the fire stations within your community are responding to. In other words, proportionality. So right now, about 92% of the calls that both of our fire stations in the city of Ridgecrest are calls within the city, and about 8% are outside the city. So part of the formula is that the county's looking for the city to pay our portion of the actual use of those fire stations. Well, the issue there is that that's going to result in a substantial increase in the cost to the city. Now, the city's position is we do believe we owe the county more money for the fire service because we've been getting a pretty good deal for several years. And so the issue is that how do we pay for this substantial increase here in the near future? And right now, we really do not have the funding to be able to cover that increase. We're looking at about an additional $1.2 million in fire costs annually. So as part of our ongoing negotiations with the county, we're trying to give the community the opportunity to have options. And one of those options is to close one of our stations to be able to save funding so we wouldn't have to make other budget cuts within the city. So we've been talking to the fire chief about that, what that would look like. And so that's still ongoing. My opinion is that it would change us from, a city response fire department to a rural fire department. There are at least on average, twice a day, there are times when our fire department is on multiple calls. So under the new formula, if we closed a station, that they'd only be able to respond to one incident at a time, and then our response times would be extremely slow. And so we're working through that. We're hoping to be able to have in the agreement the ability for the city council or the community to determine what they feel their fire services may be, and obviously we're going to have some more discussions on that in the future. So next slide. The next area in the survey was local streets and roads. Back in 2012, the citizens passed Measure L, and in 2016 they passed the subsequent Measure V. Majority of that funding, or at least half of that funding, has been used for our local roads. Since that time, we've seen a significant betterment in our roadways. Now, we're still not where we need to be, but we have made some significant improvement. We've brought a slurry program to the city, which allows us to repair more streets or maintain more streets at a lower cost to the community. And this is where I'm having Travis Reed come in and talk about where we're going and where we think we're going to be here in the next 5 years. I know this year we have an extremely aggressive paving program. We have a program to actually repair roads, and we have other programs to improve the maintenance of roads. And we're looking at doing a lot over the next couple of years. And we have a goal of where we want to be in the future and how we want to basically maintain our roads, going forward to where we always have roads that are in good condition and not extremely poor condition. I know this has been other than public safety, this has been a significant priority of the community. So I'm going to turn it over to Travis and let him take over for here.
All right, so the first thing we need to do when we talk about our roads is how we classify a road. So we've got multiple classifications. We've got arterials, collectors, local streets. And what that basically does is it takes the amount of traffic volume that they carry and gives us a method to classify them. So a local street are going to be streets like your cul-de-sacs, like a Wasp, a Coral, Warner, things like that. A collector street is going to be something like Bataan in between Norma and gosh, why can't I think of that? Downs, thank you. And ones that actually collect local traffic and funnel them to our arterials. Now, arterials are big ones, are ones we know of. An arterial would be like a Ridgecrest Boulevard, a Norma, a Downs, things like that. So when we think about that, we obviously have to prioritize some of our larger arterials over our local streets. Right now, we've touched a lot of our arterials, and we have one arterial left that needs some work that we're going to be working on here shortly, and that's Ward. The first phase of Ward is going to start probably next summer. That section will be from China Lake Boulevard to Norma, and we're trying to work that concurrently with our phase 2 and be able to do Ward all the way to Downs. As we know, that road has seen lots of work and lots of utility traffic and things like that. So we've got some patches, we've got some drainage issues over there we need to take care of, and just the overall ride quality of that road. Since they went to signalized intersections at Norma, we've got a big problem with actually getting traffic through that intersection. So we want to try to shape that road in a way that you can actually go through that intersection at the posted speed limit. And right now, that is not the case. So with that, we've got a project out. It's our FY21 Measure V paving. It's about $1.1 million worth of paving. And actually, I'll talk about our rehab plan. So this is our overall plan, as you can see. There's lots of colors. It's a very pretty map. It's probably hard to see because it has to be small. But as of 2020, we've touched about 48% of our roads, and we have a plan to be, we want to be at least at 77 by 2025. But we, as Ron alluded to, we have pushed our, if you look on our map right here, you see we have HMA paving Measure V 2023 is purple, and then HMA paving Measure V 2025 is green. We're actually pushing that up, and we are going to do that next year. So that should significantly increase our percentage of roads that we have touched. We also this year, we have tried to make it easier on our streets crews to try to make it more efficient so we can get the work that we have to do to prep for paving, slurry, chip seal, all the different methods of restoration or reconstruction that we use to try to make life easier on them. We purchased a new vacuum sweeper, so that way while the vacuum sweeper is being used in town on its daily operation, we have another one to aid in the cleanup process of the roads that we are prepping. We have our own oil tanker now, so rather than having to have oil shipped in daily or weekly to do our slurry program, we have a tank on site so we can get what we need for that slurry season on site and have that oil readily available for us so we don't have to stop our process. We purchased another Bobcat, so that way it's a high output Bobcat. It's got a better hydraulic pump. In essence, it can run our grinders or millers better, and we're hoping that that will significantly increase our production on getting streets prepared. And then the latest addition is the picture that you see right there. We had some feedback from the community on Facebook about the amount of metal objects they see in our roads. And a resident sent me an email and showed me a picture of a tow behind magnet. So we did some research and we found one, and we've been posting pictures, and you would not believe the amount of stuff this thing picks up. So we're doing our part and trying to keep the streets clean with all the construction going on right now. And just to be, it's not funny, but it is kind of funny to tell you about it today. Les was out with that thing today and ended up picking up 2 of those nails with his tires. So But anyway, back to our roads. So this is our FY21 plan. It's actually under construction right now. The green streets that you see are our streets that we are going to slurry, which is basically a fine aggregate and a sand mixed with a binder, which is an emulsion-based product or an asphalt product that we put about a 1/4-inch coat over the top of the roads. The red that you see is actually HMA, which is what we consider hot mix asphalt, which is an actual repaving of the road. So that project consists of Panamint Street from Sanders to Balsam, which if you've ever driven down that road, you know how bad that road is. We're doing the last section of Wilson between Sunland and Henry. We're doing Gold Canyon and Silver Ridge between California and Ridgecrest Boulevard. Warner, Fairview, and Sanders between Coso and Argus. Tamarisk, we're doing from Down Street up to the new paving, which was done, I don't remember if it was last year or year before. It was last year, right? Up at Tamarisk. And then we're gonna do some concrete work on Reeves that's necessarily to facilitate drainage. So that way when we come back to pave our FY22 project, we can take care of that road. We're going to do Purdue from Aileen to Wayne, and we're going to do Aileen from Wayne to Graff. And then we've got, if any of you have ever driven down Norma and gotten to the intersection of Upjohn, we all know where it's heaved and how bad it is getting through that intersection. So we're going to do some remediation and some repair on Norma and on Upjohn there. So that way it's not so abrupt and brutal on cars when they drive through that intersection. This is our FY22 project that I was speaking about. So your multiple colors here, you have our slurry program, which is in green. I don't know that everybody wants me to list those streets off. I could, but it's a long list. And you've got our proposed streets right now for FY22. And then you've got our chip seal project for FY22 as well, which is in pink. So the long pink stretches, that's about a 1/2-inch thick layer of emulsion with some larger aggregate in it. It's basically doing some maintenance items on some of the roads that we've put some money into already, especially like College Heights and China Lake Boulevard that have a decent pavement section already. And it's basically just to preserve that service and to make sure that ride quality stays in an acceptable standard. We are going to utilize that method on Mahan. We all know that Mahan, where it's one lane of travel, can be a little rough. So we're trying to do some things to better the ride quality of that road and maybe aid in the width a little bit to allow traffic to pass a little smoother. We are currently looking at seeing if we can find a better solution on Mahan in between Springer and Bowman. There's some logistical issues there because the county owns half that right away. We own half that right away. So it has some cause for concern, but we're working through it. So the FY22 project, which is our hot mix asphalt streets that are planned right now, this is still tentative and still kind of in the works. We're still gathering some information and looking at to see if there's any streets that have degraded since we did our research and did our classification system on this to see if there's ones that have come to a forefront that need to be done currently. But what we're looking at doing is Reeves from Norma to China Lake, and from Norma all the way through the to the DMV, Fairview from Felspar to Drummond, Atkins from Gordon to Sierra View, Graff from China Lake Boulevard to Wayne, Peg from Vera all the way to Felspar, and I will tell you that's almost a mile of roadway. Reeves from Mahan to Inyo, Purdue from Sierra View to the end of the cul-de-sac, which is on the east side there. And then Wasp and Coral from Downs to Allen, Wild Rose from Sierra View to Allen, and then Alvord from Ridgecrest Boulevard to French, and that includes that intersection there. And lastly, Warner from Ridgecrest Boulevard to Church. That'll, as you know, a while back in 2015, when the city did the Ridgecrest Boulevard project, we put a bus turnaround in it, and it's got some nice pavement in one stretch, and it really shows the difference in the degraded asphalt versus what's newer. So we're hoping we can finish that up and make it easier for school traffic through there and things like that. And with that, lastly, every 2 years, we do what's called our pavement condition index. So we go out and survey all the roads in the city, and we have a classification system that basically scores the road. Right now, we're sitting at about a 62. After we finish the work that we want to do this year, we're hoping to be to a 64. And by the end of FY22, we're hoping to be above a 70. And the way this system works is 100 to 85 is considered good. 85 to 70 is basically like satisfactory. 70 to 55 is fair. And then 55 and below, 55 to 25 is poor, and 25 and below is failed. So currently we sit above the national average in California. We're sitting, like I said, at about a 62. By the end of FY22, we're hoping to have it up to around a 70 to a 71. So with that,
Where did we start at?
we have any questions? Oh yeah, and with that, we started at roughly a 24. So let me go back now. Now you guys can see it. So with that, if you have any questions, feel free to ask us.
You did a great
No
job,
question.
Travis. Somebody has any questions?
I know, I gave way too much information.
Can I hear you, Mayor?
We can't hear anybody who's trying to talk.
Good job, Travis.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you have a question, Donna raised her hand. So Donna, if you want, you could unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It was really just a comment. I just wanted to thank our city manager and Travis for all your hard work. This is so great to see this progress. Thank you so much.
All in a day's work, right? But we appreciate the comments.
I mean, yeah, the reality is that, it's the policymakers, but as well as more likely just the guys on the streets that are doing the job, especially the people who are doing the slurry work. That was a program that we created from nothing, and the staff, every paving seasons are getting better and better at doing this job and making the roads look better and travel better.
They've really taken a genuine interest into what we do there, and even as far as going in and looking into different aggregates, trying to figure out if we can change our mix design. So every year when we get a delivery of aggregates, we send those aggregates off with our sand and with our oil, so we have a lab tell us what is the ultimate and the best mix design you can use for shrinkage, for tensile strength, for tensile strength would be your cohesion, and just for strength in general. So we're really trying to refine our process and make sure that the materials that we put down on the ground are actually going to work for the climate that we're in. And as you can tell, if you look at the ones that we did the first year 1 versus now year 4 or year 3, the quality comes out a lot better because the guys have gotten much better and they're a lot more efficient in what they do. And now it's my job to figure out a way to get them the machinery and the things they need so we can get all the roads done and not just the list that we gave you.
Right.
So.
As part of that, this budget cycle, we asked Les what he actually needed to be able to be more effective on the slurry machine program. And that came down to a couple things. One, a little bit better equipment, a planer to be able to level the road out quicker, as well as a couple additional staff to be able to assist with road prep. Because right now, because we haven't touched our roads in so many years, the biggest impediment to getting more roads done is the actual prep time that it takes when you're preparing the roads for the slurry program. So we're hoping to be able to get the prep work done a little bit quicker. And here, probably in the next 5-6 years, we'd like to have touched all the roads. So then we could start a program where we're touching every road every 5 to 7 years, as well as coming up with a way of the roads that actually need to be repaired. We'll have the funding either through grants or through other methods to be able to take care of it. So we're hoping in in about 5, maybe 6 years, we'll be to that point where we've touched everything. And then we can just start our True Road program where we actually have everything on the list that gets touched. So we don't put ourselves back into this situation to where we haven't touched a road in 40 years.
That's, and you hit the nail on the head. Our ultimate goal is to be able to touch all of our roads every 7 years. That's what we see when you really start to see degradation and you start to see failures start to happen in our roads. It's about the 7-year mark. And the majority of our failures are unlike what you see in other communities. Most of the people, the big failure in their roads is weather related, and ours, although it is weather related, it's not in the same sense of what you see everywhere else. Most other places, it's the rainy and the wet season. You see it gets down through any minor cracking in the asphalt, which then saturates your subgrade, and then it pumps and it causes the asphalt to crack. But what we see here is we see more of a shrinkage component, and this is just my professional opinion. And that's what causes the big cracks. And I think we've all driven down Ridgecrest Boulevard, which is still a beautiful street, except for those large transverse cracks that run across the road. So that's the thing we're trying to look at ways to mitigate right now for our paving programs, and how we can come up with an effective method of fixing them that doesn't degrade the ride quality and things of that nature.
Hey, Ron, Renee Wessela asked, what are your options for increasing funding for the city to pay for increased costs of fire protection?
Well, right now we're just taking the position of is before we start looking at, how we're going to increase revenue to maintain what we have, we at least want to be able to have the option to decrease services if the people want to reduce that to stay within our budget. It is putting us in a difficult situation. I know that all the other small cities within the county who are also contract cities with the fire department are all feeling the same pain, as well as, cities like, Tehachapi, Arvin, Wasco, Delano. We're all in the same boat of here in the next year, we have to start paying a significant amount more money towards the fire service. So, right now we're looking at how can we work with the county to make sure that whatever increases that they're doing are legitimate and appropriate. And I think that with all the cities working together, I think we're to that point. We're to that point where we've got the county to sharpen their pencil. Like for the City of Ridgecrest, for instance, although we're 92% of the calls, the county added 15% because of our strategic location. So we're only having to pay 74% of the actual cost for the stations. We had a concern about, paying for capital purchases and that going into capital purchases on the western side. The county came and say, hey, any capital money that we put into the CIP fund will stay directly for equipment to benefit our citizens because they're paying for it. So I believe we've got a very good contract that we're working on with them. Right now, I'm just looking at options of if we cannot afford our current fire service, what can we do to keep from having to destroy the rest of the city's budget to maintain fire services? So we're providing an option in there. I met with the fire chief last week. We're going to meet again in October. I'm hoping to bring the contract to the council probably in January. And then really we'll have to start a community conversation of what we really want in the way of fire service. I know that, I've worked with the fire department for 35 years. They provide a great service. I think we get a good deal. I think we're even getting a good deal even with the increase. I think part of one of the issues, the reason why the fire department had to come back is they have a structural deficit themselves. With the loss of oil, I think, once upon a time, oil was really tied to the property taxes, and that was holding up the fire fund. And I think with the loss of the fire revenue or the oil revenue, it's significantly affected the fire fund, which has created this problem. So I know that the small cities wanted the county to take on a fire assessment for the entire county. We felt that would be more efficient, but they didn't go that way. They went the way of us paying our actual costs. And so, we actually have to pay for what we actually receive. And I think that the cost of that still is a great value because we are part of a regional fire department. Just as an example, when we had the earthquakes, the number of fire personnel from the county as well as throughout the area that came to this community to assist us was beyond belief. I think the daily responses we get from them in providing services in our community is really good. Our fire stats show that for a community our size, we have a significant number of residential fires, which puts us in a different category. So my goal right now is just to negotiate the best contract I can with the county that provides the best service, but also gives us the ability to make adjustments to fit our budget. And obviously that's a conversation we're gonna have to have with the community on really what does the community want? Because there's either gonna have to be cuts or there's gonna have to be another source of revenue that's found just for us to maintain. So that's pretty much where we're at. Renee, I wish I could provide you a little bit more of a detailed answer, but I think right now we're just working on trying to set the stage for that discussion.
Ron, she had a follow-up question that says, how could we manage with only 2 fire stations in this whole valley?
Well, right now we have 4 stations that respond to incidents region-wide. Remember, we have a fire station in Randsburg. There's a fire station in Unicurn, and then there's 2 in Ridgecrest, one on Dolphin and one on Coso. So when we have a major incident, they prefer to have at least 16 to 18 firefighters on any major residential or commercial fire. And they're able to do that pretty much through bringing their local resources in, as well as maybe a little bit of help from China Lake. But if we reduced a station, that would have a significant impact on how long it would take. Because right now, our stats show it takes them between 8 and 9 minutes to get to a call. If we went to one station, it'd probably be a minimum of 15 minutes. So it would have an effect. But right now, I would argue that there's probably a strong argument to increase fire services, not decrease it.
Thank you for that explanation, Ron.
Yep.
Does anybody else have any questions to follow up? Looks like you've covered a lot of stuff for us. So I thank you, Ron and Travis, for touching on those 2 big issues and communicating. Ron, did you want to talk any more? Is the what is it called? The community, not collaboration, but
communication.
Is that still going? That survey?
We're still collecting information. We still review it a few times a week. We have gotten some significant feedback on it, on areas that the people are concerned with. And we've made some of those adjustments in what we do.
One of the other things, just to add to that real quick, is we've been trying to put out a little bit more communication on Facebook and social media and things like that. If you could encourage anybody that go on when we put out one of our public works announcements for where we're working. If you have a street that you think is just absolutely horrible, please let us know. That way we can go out and reevaluate, and maybe we missed something. Wouldn't be the first time. I'm not perfect. My staff isn't perfect. So the more help we get, the more eyes we have, the better we can serve the city and the more we can get done.
Now I'm open to other questions if anybody has any questions about any of the general topics.
Yeah, it looks like we have another hand that went up. Donna, do you want to ask your question?
I do. So, Travis, you'd mentioned on social media, is that something that the Association of Realtors could share on their Facebook page and then maybe tag it with, if you see, if our realtor members see any streets or any issues, they could click a link or send a message to you or to
So
the city?
If they respond to the actual Facebook group, I've been trying to make it, if you look on a lot of those, I'm not very good at if I reply as myself or if I reply as the city, but I've been trying to reply more as myself so they see somebody who's in the public works department is really monitoring this and trying to take note and respond to them and let them know where the schedule is, where they can find information on what we're doing, when we're going to be on your street. But they can respond either to the Facebook message, they can email me, they can call me, and we just got a new feature on our website. It's called Report a Pothole. So it doesn't have to be a pothole. You can report the whole street for all I care.
Okay.
Report the whole street and send it to me so we can at least send some staff out to go reevaluate that intersection, that street, that run. And it gets emailed to our street supervisor, my administrative assistant, or analyst, I'm sorry, Livette, if you're listening, and myself. So we have a pretty good group of people that get it to make sure it does get addressed and get handled.
I was just thinking because our realtor members travel so much every day showing listings, they might see things that some of the rest of us may not see on certain streets. So I will certainly get that out to our members.
Absolutely. And if any of them have any questions about how to get a hold of somebody or where links are or where things are, feel free to have them give me a call.
I will. Thank you.
I'm not sure, Ron and Travis, if you're following the chat over on the right, but Chip just put one in there that says the fairgrounds is willing to offer the city a free information booth and survey site during the fair next month. So if you want to touch base with Chip to have a point of contact that with the community, that might be something to think about.
Great, sounds good.
Absolutely. Thanks, Chip.
And I think Renee has her hand up.
I think her camera and microphone weren't working. That's why she
Okay.
typed it in for me to
Got
read.
it. Okay, got it. Yeah, she took it off. Okay, any other questions at all for the city? All right,
Shoot now or forever hold your peace.
Well, since somebody's asking questions, can I chime in?
You may.
I just wanted to compliment the city staff, and if you haven't seen it yet, they released the interactive business development map this morning on our social media. That's got somewhere north of 1,000 views in the first 4 hours. It's an incredible opportunity for us to continue that communication and sharing. And if you haven't checked it out, take a look. There's a lot of cool things happening. And then finally, if you haven't today, it's a great day to get out and vote.
Thank you, Mayor Bruin, for your words. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and with that said, I know if some of you guys haven't had a chance to see that, do you guys have any questions about any of the construction or want to know what's going where? Or guess not.
Guess so.
I
do.
heard. Oh, go ahead, Donna.
There was, and so back to Eric's point, I saw that posting, Eric, and there was a listing of Mojave, and I'm going to get this wrong without looking, apartments or, so is that new, Ron, or?
It's Mojave.
Yeah, that's the affordable housing project.
Oh,
Mojave
okay.
View. Yeah,
Okay. So that's the name of the project.
correct. Yeah.
Is that on Norma?
Correct. Just south of Felspar. On the west or east side there.
Inside, yeah.
Well,
I will say this, I'm pretty excited about Chipotle coming here. I love that place. So.
now that's one of the questions I have. When you're looking at those two new builds, the Chipotle and the Starbucks, which building is which? Is Starbucks further south or
Correct.
further north with a drive-through? And
No.
Chipotle doesn't have a drive-through?
No, Chipotle has a drive-through.
Yeah, they both do.
Oh.
Yeah, they both do. But Chipotle has a new model where you're not actually be able to put orders in the drive-through, but you order it online with the pickup time, and you'll drive through and pick it up. And
Interesting.
then and then Starbucks is on the south end by the Bowman Channel.
Yeah, so Chipotle's the northernmost building.
Okay. Keep driving by. I'm like, which one am I going to?
Well, none yet, right?
Right.
Unless you want some wood.
I'll be getting burritos for sure.
Yep, there you go. Me too. Me too. I'm
Now,
really looking forward to Dutch Brothers too.
I was gonna say, Travis, on that social post, it said that the Dutch Brothers, they just started last week, really, with the big machines digging and stuff. And that should be done next summer. Is that correct?
They're saying June of 22.
Yeah, they're saying June of 22, and I know that their original goal is to have the doors open within 6 months of breaking ground. So they're trying to move. I know they've got approved building plans, approved grading plans. They're moving. They have all their ducks in a row, and they're going. So
Right. Okay. Because I had heard that they were trying to do a pretty short turnaround, right? So then when I saw a year is still pretty good to go from dirt to a full build out. But
definitely, but it wouldn't surprise me if they met their 6 month threshold. They with the dealings that I've had with their engineering firm, with the general contractor they've hired, I think they've done this once or twice before together. So it wouldn't surprise me if it's quicker than a year.
Well, it's exciting to see some of those new businesses coming in, and I love seeing that magnet that's pulling up all of the metal and the nails off the streets, right? Like every time I walk around our chamber offices in the street, I pick up one a week. It seems like just something that's out there. So what a great resource it is for our community.
I will say, it's funny that you brought that up, and the citizen that brought it up, I can't remember who it was off the top of my head, but it was a great idea. And we used to have magnets on the street sweepers, and we've found that the magnet on the street sweepers just stood the nails up, and they all ended up in the tires of the street sweeper. So this was a good cheap alternative for saving tires.
Yeah.
So we took the magnets off the street sweeper.
I'm going to go ahead and say one more thing for the group, which is I want to thank you guys for what you're saying about the communication on the magnets or on all these other pieces. Sorry, I got my Yeti. I'm pulling over so you can hear me. But I hope, and I would ask that you continue to share with your friends, colleagues, anyone out there. This is all part of what we're trying to do in terms of changing the communication dialogue between the city and the community and its citizens. We've committed to this from a council perspective as well as from a staff perspective, and I want to commend all of these little pieces that are trying to make sure that our community knows so many of the great things that our staff does every single day that just hasn't been properly shared before. So hats off to them. They're doing the work, and I'm excited to hear you guys saying it's nice to hear, it's nice to hear, it's nice to hear, because that's what we're really hoping to hear. As I said here 7 times.
And I have to say, I've been blessed with a really, really good staff that I get a lot of support from my boss, and to kind of go and run with things and take them in whichever way I want to, whether good or bad sometimes. But our streets department really, really does appreciate the feedback, and they really do try to do their best and work hard for everybody. And when we get a complaint, we try to be able to remedy it within 24 hours. So please feel free to let us know if you see anything and put my words to the test.
That's awesome. Thank you, Travis. And thank you, Ron. Thank you for taking some time and just updating our community with this really good information. As I mentioned earlier, we are recording this session, and so we will make this available on our chamber YouTube page, and I'll put it out in our weekly email. What I started with earlier, we are starting to set up our committees for Leadership Ridgecrest, as well as our Economic Outlook Conference, which is scheduled for February. So if you have any interest in joining us in preparing for those important programs in our community, I invite you to reach out to me at the chamber, tim@ridgecrestchamber.com, and we'll add you to that dialogue. So again, thank you, Ron and Travis and the City of Ridgecrest for your presentation today.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Yep. Have a good day, everybody.
Have a great day. Be well.